Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the VGL Challenge Battles. My name is Dalsy, and today we're going to be finding out who will be joining Calamity Reborn in the first promotion/relegation match, well, just a promotion match actually, into the Vainglory8. Calamity Reborn, of course, one of the Vainglory8 teams currently yesterday defeated Norm Pisani to claim one of those two spots, and today QLASH and Queso will play against each other to see who will be the other joining Calamity Reborn. Let me pull up the bracket so you guys have a good idea of how this works. We've got a double elimination bracket for our challenge battles, and after Team Queso beat Raging Donuts yesterday, they moved into this series against QLASH. Calamity Reborn went up against Norm Pisani, who was the #1 challenge battle team, but Calamity Reborn were able to best them 2-0 in quite a dominant series. So, as you can see, Raging Donuts and Norm Pisani dropped down into the elimination round of the double bracket, and tomorrow, over on the main Vainglory channel, those series will ensure. As I said, my name is Dalsy, but I'm joined by two beautiful faces, that being one of Jaws. Jaws, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well, man. It's going to be quite an exciting game. QLASH look quite a formidable opponent, but like we discussed and we've been discussing, Team Queso, there's a reason why they are up here in the VGL and have made it so far. Such a scary young team coming into it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fairly well put. Queso obviously been in the European Vainglory Challengers League for quite some time. Some of the players on Queso have competed at the top level of European Vainglory. Iraqi Zoro, how are you doing? You feeling good?
I'm doing fantastic today, Dowsy. Very excited for this matchup, QLASH versus Team Queso. We actually, yesterday on the North American side, we saw the first challenger team beating the VGA team. It was Vision Gaming beat Gangstars 2-1. So perhaps we're going to see another VGA or another challenger team beating another VGA team. And honestly, after yesterday's performances from Raging Donuts and Non Pisani, I feel like if one of these challenger teams are going to break through to the VGA, I feel like it's going to be Team Queso.
I think Queso is definitely one of those teams that most of the European fans have kind of got their bets on. This has been a slow brew, I think, a slow cooking for Queso, with skill just increasing over the seasons. Last year they were last season, wow, they were unfortunately not able to make it into the challenge battles due to the fact that there was just such top talent. Last challenge battles, Calamity Reborn entered with Leon. You had also Salty Potatoes entering as well. And it left Team Queso up against G2, and G2 spring champions, autumn champions, going to be representing Europe at Worlds. It's a pretty hard team to go up against, even though they were slumping during the summer. So this is now Queso's chance really to make that statement of entering into the European Vainglory8. But first, of course, they have to go against QLASH, and QLASH is a team that has been looking on the up and up ever since Disown joined the roster. I realise that's not actually a throw, but if I guess I could point at you.
I mean, you definitely could have done, but we're not on camera, so that doesn't really help. Also, we can't see you, so yeah. I mean, I can tune into the stream, but I'll be behind. I mean, do you want to throw that's going to be like 2 minutes behind? Probably not. But I appreciate it, Dowsy.
I'm in a funny mood today. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a good thing, I think. It's a good thing. Right, we've got the draft ready to go. Both these teams are rearing to get into it. So we are going to just jump straight into it. For those new to the challenge battles, it's best of threes all of today and yesterday, but tomorrow and Sunday when we get onto the main Vainglory channel, when eliminations and promotions can happen, when these series mean that a team is going somewhere, either being eliminated or promoted, then the best of fives start to begin. Let's get into the draft and see what these guys have prepared for us here in our double elimination format. Looks like our graphic bugged out. That's a bit of a shame. Maybe we can fix that in just a second. There we go. And as you can see, Arden, the first man coming through.
Arden, the first man coming through, and Trinwalker taken away from Team QLASH. Team Queso don't really want to go up against the hero. One thing that I have not seen enough of in the European Challenge Battle so far, Dowsy, is Rona. I feel like she's the strongest laner in 2.10 by far. Even going up against the likes of Vox, she can still work and she can win games. Her counterplay is very limited right now because a lot of things got nerfed. So I'm surprised to not see her as often. Regardless, though, Lyra was picked up for Team Queso, and that's one that, you know, has so much sustain and is really strong at 2.10 in itself.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. We saw yesterday a Fortress composition come out and dominate as well. So maybe Queso picking up the Fortress for that reason. Samuel being banned away against Agony here. Agony, you know, one of the few European junglers that favored Samuel for quite some time. Him and Tyra's kind of were feared for their Samuels, despite the fact that Rising Lotus back then weren't one of the top teams. Agony could always be relied upon for his Samuel play.
And then the Rezic ban comes through from Team Clash. It's a really strong hero that can dive really well. So if you combine it with Fortress, then you have a composition that can get on top of Lyra or any carry that she's trying to support and burst them down really quickly. So Clash, smart ban from them if they're expecting this Fortress to go into a captain role. Honestly, though, for Team Queso, I feel like this is going to be a flex. They can easily put it in the jungle and run it as the CP Fortress. So perhaps at the same time, a little bit of a wasted ban. Now the Baptiste comes out. Another flex pick. Team Queso are making sure that they leave Clash wondering where they're going to be putting their heroes in which roles.
Baptiste, that is that's surprising. So obviously it should be you would expect the Baptiste to go into the jungle, but we've seen quite a lot of support Baptiste recently, Captain Baptiste coming out. And whilst the flex kind of gives Queso a bit of power, I feel like really this is all about hiding their carry pick so they can really try and counter this box that has come through.
Yeah, I mean, this Vox working with Lyra, they can easily kite out Fortress or Baptiste. If it is going to be a jungle Baptiste, he does fairly well against the Vox just because Vox's short auto attack range means when he wants to deal damage, he will be close enough for bad mojos to hit him. But if it is going to be a CP Fortress in the jungle, Vox does pretty well against that because you're able to just kite away, try to eliminate the wolves when they come out, use your wait for it. You just have a lot of resonance bounces. Resonance bounce damage coming up from your B and your ultimate as well. So it could be very strong depending on how Team Queso decide to round out their comp.
Alpha does come through. Very strong jungle pick. Extremely strong into jungle Fortress as well, which will make me expect for Queso to put the Baptiste into the jungle as it has a bit more of a favorable matchup against the Alpha, and a Black Feather will come through last pick here for Mr. K-Cool. We know how dominant Mr. K-Cool's Black Feather can be, so this is a really strong last pick for Team Queso. I'm
actually very surprised Black Feather made it all the way to last pick. I didn't even notice it, to be honest. It just went under the radar completely, and it's so strong here at 2.10. It's most likely going to be to go into the open power role, like you mentioned, for Mr. K-Cool and lane. It's really strong. At the same time, though, going up against a Vox and an Alpha, it could be hard.
Just waiting for Agony to join us here in lobby. Doesn't seem to be on my friends list, which is a bit unfortunate, as I sent him a friend request and he hasn't accepted it. But,
between these two compositions, I would definitely give the early game aggression to Team Clash. I mean, if they push in with Alpha and Lyra, dueling versus Baptiste and Fortress should not be the hardest. And Vox can put up a little bit of lane pressure throughout the early game against Black Feather. So they could try to abuse that if they play to their power spikes correctly. But on the other side, if Queso get to their late game with Black Feather, with Fortress, and with Baptiste, they can easily focus down any target they choose, to be honest. Even if they go for Lyra, even if they go for Alpha, they can put an Ordain down with the Fortress Wolves and Black Feather focusing them down. The Mortal Wounds would come out. It could be really hard for Clash to fight back against their composition in the late game.
No, I definitely agree here, and with such a kind of a strong anti-CC composition, and you know, when you consider Vox has one of the shortest attack attack ranges in the game, Alpha are obviously a melee hero herself, and so with the Black Feather, the Baptiste, and the Fortress, they can dive on top of this composition, really try and make this Vox's life a misery. I think that's kind of going to be the strategy, is just get on top of the Vox, delete the Vox, deal with the Alpha afterwards. Alpha and Lyra can be a pretty strong, like, 2v2, but if the side of Team Queso can kind of remove this Fox from the picture very quickly, then I think they have a very, very strong win condition in these team fights.
It's interesting as well, like you mentioned before, the Black Feather not making it all the way through. That is actually insane. We saw it banned so much, like first round of draft. It's quite ridiculous to see. But that's a nice dive composition Queso have got.
Oh, I have to agree. And
great game. Woo!
It is surprising that Black Feather is not being prioritized as much here in the drafts. I kind of feel like it makes sense if you want to play Weapon Power Black Feather that you kind of don't prioritize the Black Feather as much. But Crystal Power Black Feather has also had a lot of strength here. Diving into game very shortly. Look at those Queso badges on display. Seems like our transition graphic isn't working, so I'm going to disable that on everything. But everyone's sporting a Queso badge here. Perhaps Clash secretly want Queso to win. I'm sure that's not the case, but we will find out very shortly who can take game one here as we get on to the Halcyon Fold.
We will. Best of 3, remember everybody, today. Clash over on the blue, and we do have Queso over on the red side. Now, there was only one badge not flashed here, Araki, and that was Agony. Maybe he wants to make sure that Clash do get knocked down to those best of 5s later on and will remain in the VGL, and Clash will once again get their chance at a VG8 spot. They've been quite a bit of a disappointment, you'd say, coming into the VG8, coming up against such strong teams such as SK. But right now, coming up against Team Queso, they need to be able to prove themselves. Racky's probably muted himself again. I mean, that was...
Oops. Yeah. But you mentioned Agony. I mean, I definitely think he's the cornerstone of the team. He's always performed very consistently and helped his team overcome a lot of hurdles, especially in VG8. Clash as a team later on in the season have performed a lot better also. The chain is being contested though. Alpha does secure it here.
Alpha's going to get it. No captain steal, no 1 point on the mark. However, Mr. Keiko is going fairly low, but an Ordained should shop the advantage of Clash. They do end up getting that early pressure in the jungle. And we spoke about actually the Fortress yesterday, not going in the jungle position this time. It's going to go in the more captain-orientated position, which means Alpha's not going to be able to bully her around, but it's going to be coupled with Dark Ghost. Seems like an extremely strong engagement comp, especially to disrupt Agni early on. We'll see if they want to do any of that.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, besides talking about Agony and Clash, how they became like a lot better towards the end of the season in VG8, and now they're in challenges, you could expect them to do a lot better as well. Besides that, the compositions in the draft we saw is very interesting. Not only Black Feather made it all the way to the last pick, but you have a Fortress captain, which is something you don't see as often. You have Marcellus on his box, which is the strongest hero. It's his strongest, most comfortable pick by far. So Queso, giving him that hero could be a mistake that they have made. We'll see how the game plays out. Regardless though, both compositions have a lot of tools to make things work for them. And it's about abusing the power spike correctly. We talked about it a little bit in draft, where Alpha should be trying to invade as much as possible against this Fortress and against this Baptiste, because Vox, as you can see in lane right now, can put a lot of pressure as well, especially with Lyra. So they need to pressure this early game as hard as they can, Clash, and try to snowball slightly, especially comes mid-game.
She's looking for engagement. Yeah, Mr. Keiko is actually going to pop the flash. Same with PRZ. Agony was spotted on that scout trap, so has to be very careful with his engagements and very, very careful with his positioning as well, going in for those full turret dives. But like you mentioned, Mercedes and Disown doing a good job harassing PRZ and Mr. Keiko do force out both their flash.
Yep, and so far, I mean, the third Elder Chain looks like it's going to go to Baptiste. If he waits here long enough, it's going to spawn right away. They didn't gain anything from that push except for making Black Feather lose a couple of CS, but it's not enough to really make a difference. You could see that he's still far ahead of Vox, about 5 CS or 4 CS after that big minion comes out. So Mr. Keiko doing well for himself, and that's another hero that he got that is one of his most comfortable heroes. Mr. Keiko, Black Feather, everyone knows it. So going into the late game, I'm pretty sure he's going to be putting so much work, especially after he picks up a Serpent's Mask, a breaking point, some defense, so he can be durable. It's all very possible. Another reason why I talk about the early game being weak for Queso is that the Fortress, you mentioned it, we usually see it as CP, but this time we see it as a captain, is very weak as a captain early on. Long time ago, it used to be the strongest early on, but ever since the changes that happened to him a while back, he became very weak and early on, but he becomes a lot stronger later. So it's all about the power spikes right here. And so far, honestly, we've been having a very passive game. where Clash does not seem like they want to play aggressive, perhaps waiting for the aftershock to be picked up on Alpha.
It's very, very close to being completed, mind you. I mean, Queso, they do have a nice way of actually disrupting Agony. PRZ and Dark Ghost can do both of that with the Ordained. It's very easy to kind of chase her up, and that's what you want to do to an Alpha before she hits that power spike and before she hits level 6, but they've left her completely alone, meaning she's hit that level 6 mark before Dark Ghost and actually is going to be able to pick up the aftershock right here, right now. She wanders towards the shop. Just picked it up right just there. Now Mr. K-Call and PRZ are going to have to be very, very cautious coming into the next couple of minutes because Dark Ghost is halfway to level 6. Agony can go so aggressive now, and that's exactly what he is doing with a Helper to Zone.
Indeed, and he's stealing this region right now. He just got it. Now he has the timer on it, the cool respawn timer. If he wants to keep on rotating on it, he can do that easily. And if you're wondering why he was 2 levels ahead as he engages on the black for some damage here,
as the Ordained is going to land on Agony, taken very, very low. In fact, Termination Protocol is going to get unleashed. A turret shot should finish him off, though. He explodes and doesn't do all too much. That Black Feather, just percentage damage wasn't quite enough. In fact, PRZ is going to go down to first blood. Mr. Keiko trying to find the last finishing blow on Agony. Can't quite do it. Another core charge lands. Mr. Keiko finally picks it up. Dark Ghost digging level 6 to use that Fearsome Shade to scare off Macilis and Disowned, but that's still first blood to Agony.
First blood to Agony, that could have went a lot worse for Clash than it actually ended up being because Agony played a little too aggressive right there, even used this Terminate Protocol a little too prematurely, and almost ended up going while he was rebooting, but the Lyra heal and the Lyra sustain kept him alive just long enough to come back, and then he secured a kill. Now Batiste is trying to take this region away. Who's going to get it? Batiste got it.
We get to he's trapped Agony in the B ability as well. I mean, realistically, that's not what you want to have, Agony right up in your face. But hey ho, Mr. Dark Ghost did manage to get it in the end. PRZ wanted down to the shop, getting a couple of flares on board. But Mr. K-Call actually picking up a kill in that fight onto Agony in the end. It's going to be fairly important. He has got that Serpent's Mask now. He's actually looking maybe towards a Bonesaw here, or even a Tension Bow to come up next to actually burst down Agony, who's, like you mentioned, is going to be very tanky coming into the next few minutes because he's going to be able to pick up an extra couple of defense.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to be going for a Tension Bow or a Bonesaw. You can see he also has an Infusion, so they could be going for something aggressive very soon. Alpha actually, Agony, when he came up to the lane and went on to the black, that was a smart choice to force something during that time because they did have the power spike of level 6 over the Batiste. You mentioned it when it happened. And the reason he had that advantage because he secured the Elder Treants over the Batiste, or Mr. Keiko getting taken low.
He takes him very low, but Rose Offensive will get him out of there. Another Ordained does land on Disown this time. Agony trading up that damage beautifully. In fact, oh, that was very close. Almost dashed onto tower and executed Dark Ghost. BRZ taking a nice little chunk out of Macilis. But Clash right now, they have the sustain on board with the Lyra, and Agony is able to just jump in, jump out when he pleases, as he does have Termination Protocol back up again.
Exactly, with that sustain, they can actually keep on sieging almost wherever.
Well, there's the wait for it. They're going to go for an engage. Yeah, Agony's going to go straight on the back line, but if Fearsome Shade scares everybody away, Clash going extremely low. Macilis trying to dodge, dig, dive, and dodge out of there. Agony activating the Termination Protocol. Can't find a way back in. Just uses it to survive for the time being. Mr. Keiko cannot find that execution damage either on Agony, and that's an interaction we don't often talk about, is the fact that when Agony goes down into that infinite reboot, her health is technically 0, so Mr. Keiko will be doing maximum damage to her, as he does do percentage missing health damage. Now Mr. Keiko and Dark Ghost putting pressure on this turret, but Macilis managed to get back in time. It's going to be healed up as well. Although I say that, as he gets jumped on straight into Ordained, he might actually just go down. He does, in fact. That damage coming out from Dark Ghost, I did not expect it, but I should have done with the Shatter Glass on board.
Yeah, I mean, he just did not respect the pressure coming out from Team Queso. Now they're going to be able to siege down this turret. Although Alpha is trying to defend it. He did not expect the fact that they could be sticking around for another kill. He thought they might have backed away or recalled. So he's going to be paying for it with his life. But Team Queso don't get anything on top of that. It's still small leads, and that's why you could see the game is actually dead even. Only 100 gold advantage for Clash. And at this rate, Team Queso are the ones benefiting because their late game composition does become a lot stronger. That being said, it only becomes stronger if they're able to finish a team fight without anyone backing away and sustaining up. Because Clash have the Lyra, if they get an engagement where they trade a lot of damage and then back away then sustain, that's their win condition. That's how they want to play it. They don't want a full-on team fight. And that's why for Team Queso, they're going to need to choose areas to fight for at where they can commit to a single target and finish them off before they're able to back away to, let's say, a turret or a crystal sentry. So it's all about where you fight for Team Queso, and they could start baiting with the gold mine, honestly, since it's getting fuller and fuller. It's full at this point.
Well, Mr. Keiko, instead of going for that tension bow or bone swords, actually pick up the poison shiv instead, even more sustained. Mercedes gets jumped on once again. However, that sigil will speed him out of there. Team Clash now on the defensive. That's a Dragon's Eye completed as well for Agony, so he's going to be able to. He's going to want to He's going to want to utilize that Spike Araki if I can get my words out eventually. But PRZ's got a pretty big buy here as well. This is a second item Water Race. They know how important it is to get on the back line and get on Mercedes and kill him quickly. So that's going to help the rest of their team come into the next few minutes.
Lyra does have her own Water Race as well, so that's going to counter it. And she doesn't have a fountain. They're going to try to siege this turret here. Let's see if they can take it down.
Yeah, PRZ going very low. That turret does end up falling. The mortal wounds and the wait for it will come out. The wolves come out previously, though. Nice wall treads, re-engagement onto Mercedes, and they end up cutting him down. A bad mojo will execute him. Termination protocol used also, but no one from Team Queso ended up falling, and Mr. Keiko will pick up another kill. 2 kills in the bag here for Team Queso, but they lose that turret.
Yeah, they do lose the turret. I mean, Clash stick around a little too long. Now they're going to get retaliated on here. Guess I should be able to take down the turret. And now, not that they get 2 kills on top of the turret, they're going to have a little bit more map control where they can fight in areas to fully commit to a target, like I mentioned earlier. The Poison Shift pick is very interesting for Mr. Keiko because, yes, it does give you the mortal wounds, which you need against the Lyra, but with how the game works, the lifesteal works since 2.9, if you stack 2 items with lifesteal, one of them will not give you any lifesteal. It's the same unique passive, which is the Viperism, if I remember correctly. So the fact that Serpent's Mask has lifesteal and Poison Shift together combined in one item build, you're gonna have one of them not giving you their lifesteal, which in this case it would be the Poison Shift. So the 10% lifesteal you get from Poison Shift will be completely gone for Mr. Keiko. He's not gonna be getting that. So it's an interesting choice. Perhaps he thought the mortal wounds are still worth it enough, and maybe they're looking for a team fight right here.
Still important, but Clash not deciding to fight just yet, using the sigil to speed boost them out of there. Yeah, so that stat on the Poison Shiv will completely useless now, and it is just down to those mortal wounds, like you were saying, applying them more readily. And in fact, they're going to apply them to disown. The wolves come out also. Wait for it, did strike 3 people, but Mercedes is just getting jumped on the fearsome shade, scared him back long enough, but they're underneath the turret of Clash, not where they want to be, and their wolf already ends up falling, and Team Queso are now on the run. A prime directive will find Mr. Keiko, and they're going to be able to keep chasing. Agony is not going to be able to save his teammate just yet. Mr. Keiko is going to go down also. Prime directive straight back in, finds the termination protocol damage onto a Dark Ghost, but it's not going to be enough for the moment. Has got a bit of shielding, and it's going to be able to get away, you can imagine. Or if a prime directive keeps hitting like that, I don't think it will, in fact. But here's some shade to scare them off.
Scare them off. I feel like if they continue on chasing him, he can actually win this 1v2. All the sustain that Batiste brings in. He does have a clockwork also finished on top of his Shadow Glass, so his cooldowns refresh fairly quickly. Now they're going to be on this Treant, contesting it.
No one's taking it, though. Ordained is come out, and the Elder Treant isn't going to root anybody up, and in fact, it is going to go over to Agony, so he's got the sustain, but jumps straight on the Gold Miner Crucible pop for the shielding. Ordained's going to stun him up, and that should be 1 dead alpha. Dark Ghost picks up the kill. PRZ is going to take credit for it, and that'll be Team Queso picking up 1, and possibly a Gold Miner here as well, losing the main carry for Clash.
Oh yeah, this gold miner would be huge for them. It's full, so it would be 1,200 gold that they would be gaining. And honestly, Vox should not be able to contest because they can just go on him like this.
Oh, 700 heal, though, coming out from Disown. We'll see if he's able to steal it. The synonymous captain steals in the VGL are apparent. Whatever it did come through as well, but the Fearsome Shade should scare them off, and they do secure it. Nicely timed by Dark Ghost, and like you said, that's an extra 1,200 gold spread throughout the team.
Yeah, that's quite a bit for Team Queso right here. I mean, Blackfeather has really good execution, so he can secure that almost in every scenario if he uses it correctly. So far, the team fights have been fairly back and forth. It's whatever team misengages or whatever team gets out of position trying to play a little too aggressive loses the team fight. We saw that first when Team Queso or Team Clash went for the turret and then it's overstayed, and then we saw it in the last team fight 3v3 when Clash engaged on Queso near their second tier turret and they ended up losing the team fight. So these teams have to be a little bit more patient in terms of when they pick the fight and where they pick it, and then whoever manages to get that team fight, now that we're also approaching minute 15, can get huge advantages. You should be able to get at least one turret on top of the Kraken if it's available. So both of these teams have to be really careful here.
Well, the amount of times we've seen one Kraken pushes to end Iraqi, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case as well. We look at the damage that's going to come out of K-Cool and Dark Ghost onto turret. Same with Agony and Mercedes. There's a lot going for them. And in fact, Mercedes working towards his third item now. Sora Blade, Poison Shiv. Kind of curious what he wants to go next. No Monocle or anything at the moment, but was he going to go for a Tornado Trigger? How's he looking for this build?
Tornado Trigger not picked up on Vox side. He's going for a breaking point at this point. They're flanking right here. They could be catching them off guard.
Yeah, okay, so I want to go for an all-in engage. In fact, PRZ is going fairly aggressive in his build also. Has actually picked up that Aftershock, so a bit more damage and a bit more bang for his buck. Bite for his buck? That works about right. Mr. K-Cool also is going to be able to finish his third item very soon as well, even with the Atlas Pauldrons on board. This is the point that you mentioned earlier on, where he can dive in on the backline and survive because of all the sustain plus the defenses. 15 minutes on the clock, that Kraken's going to spawn as well.
Yeah, and they're both infused right now, so they're both ready to go. They should have denied the shop from Team Clash because now they got their own infusions. They weren't able to do that, so now it's even playfield. But I mentioned the Tornado Trigger randomly. It actually got nerfed in 2.10, so you don't see it as often at all. Those heroes that want to go for crit builds are now building monocles rather than tornado triggers. It's just the crit damage on it has been nerfed by 5%, if I believe, or if I recall correctly. So very close to another team fight right here, and it could be all about the execution. If they manage to get on Vox, apply an Atlas, that could be all they need for Team Queso.
Well, Bright Bulwark's going to go down. There's the big stun as well from the Ordained. Vox is going to dash over the wall, but he's isolated from his team. Agony's going to be able to chase up onto PRZ, but he cannot kite for Mercedes enough. Another Ordained does lock him in place, and he ends up going down to a bad mojo. They lose one, but they trade it one apiece so far as Mr. K-Cool falls as well. But Termination Protocol is on the horizon also from Agony. Prime directed onto PRZ, and chasing Dark Ghost down. Very tanky as Dark Ghost. Another Prime Directive does land on both of them, but he just doesn't seem to be going down. A Fearsome Shade will disengage Team Queso. They lose a member each, meaning these teams aren't going to be able to get much off this. Kraken not even on the board for both.
The Lyra sustain right now is so annoying for Team Queso because she's keeping Vox alive for so long in these team fights. You can see there, they really tried to focus the Vox, which is a right target focus is the correct choice for Queso to keep on sticking to Merciless, but it took them so long to take him down that by that point, Alpha managed to finish off the Black Feather, and she could continue on winning the 2v2 between Alpha and Lyra and Batiste and Fortress. So they need to find ways to finish off the Vox a little bit quicker, and that's why you see the Poison Shift being picked up on Mr. K-Cool, despite the fact you don't get the lifesteal from it. They need the Mortal Wounds, and with Fortress also on the team, now they have two different types of Mortal Wounds that they can apply onto the Vox, reducing the healing from sigils, reducing the fountains, reducing the barriers coming out from reflex blocks even. So they definitely have the tools to do it, but it's going to get harder and harder, especially once he picks up a Metal Jacket and then an Aegis soon enough, if he finishes his defensive items. And at that point, Alpha on the front line, who has a Dragon's Eye as well, she can clean up the team fights easily if it takes Team Queso too long to finish off the Vox.
And now with even an Atlas Pauldrons as well, is going to cut Mr. K-Cool's damage in half. However, Team Queso's win condition right now, like you mentioned, is to kill Mercilles. Does have Metal Jacket, so survivability has been increased. However, right now, I mean, Queso are doing a fantastic job of actually just taking him out regardless of the Lyra heals because of all those big mortal wound stacks. As soon as that goes off, you're pretty much done and dusted. There's no healing, or it feels like no healing, and it's really up to Disowned. Even pick up an old wave. He has got War Treads to kind of escape with the rest of his team. Atlas Pauldrons user Mr. K-Cool Rose offensive straight onto the back line and wait for it will land. However, only just hits PRZ, and they're going to find him with a Fearsome Shade. Isn't going to get blocked by Mercilles, and he ends up going down. Crystal Sentry is going to help fight for Team Clash, but Agony's going extremely low. Termination Protocol is going to get popped. K-Cool is just going to run out of there and be able to execute the Alpha where she stands. Mr. K, Team K-Cool, Team K-Cool, Team Queso. It's like Mr. K-Cool, Mr. Queso, Team K-Cool. I said it again. Team Queso managed to take 2 kills, and they're going to be able to secure the Kraken. Iraqi, I'm all over the place.
It is looking like Team K-Cool, man. I mean, you saw that engage, and now they're going on to Lyra. They could finish her off right here.
Yeah, they could. Waterhead's popped out. Mr. Keiko should be able to clean this one up. Not too much of an issue. The execute, big 700 damage proc does take her out. That's an ace buff as well. And that Kraken's going to go down sharpish.
That is an ace buff. I mean, the initiation at the beginning coming out from Mr. Keiko to get on top of the Vox. Not only did he stick to him very effectively, but he applied the Atlas Pauldron, meaning that Vox could not deal any damage back. And then later on, as they continued on chasing, the Fearsome Shade coming out from Dark Ghost was very crucial because it just meant they could finish off the Vox soon enough so that Alpha could not clean up. Now, after winning that ace, they're pushing in with the Kraken, and with only 4 turrets down, they could either look to take a few of them and then back away, or if they win at 5, they could end easily. Blackfeather is just now coming up to join his team.
They could easily, like you said, they could easily end here. Disown have only just spawned, so that leaves a turret completely free. Clash are going to have to deal with a lot of damage to that Kraken if they get time to do it, but it is walking rather steadily towards that towards that choke point turret, I should say. PRZ now looking for a small engagement. Big item science actually came out from Disown there, stopped them doing anything for the time being. PRZ now still trying to defend the rest of his team. That Kraken's going down fairly quickly, like I mentioned. It's up to Queso now. Do they want to actually engage here, or do they just want to back off? Looks like they end up getting the turret regardless. However, Clash are on the offensive. Team Queso just use those boots to get away, however. Although I say that, Agony just dashes straight in. Okay, 1v3, why not? Mr. Keiko is just on the front line here. Big Ordained actually is going to come out. There's the Termination Protocol. Can't quite find the damage on Mr. Keiko, though. And he jumps straight back on top of Agony. He's going to go down in a flash as that Fearsome Shade just ripple through 3 members of Team Clash. However, Agony did manage to get out from that Infinite Reboot, kill Mr. Keiko, but PRZ is going to take a massive bite out of him, and a bad mojo will finish him off. Dark Ghost manages to pick up a kill on the Alpha, and now Disown's the last one alive. Dark Ghost with the ace and the triple kill, and now they're just going to look to take the entire base.
Wow, they actually won that team fight despite focusing Alpha on the front line. Alpha went in a little too early before her teammates arrived, and now after losing that ace, they're pushing in with the ace minions. As long as they split the damage, they can finish the game right here.
That's exactly what they're going to be able to do, and that's where the Batiste likes to fight Araki in those corridors. He was landing 2 to 3 man bad mojos. They are on the Vein Crystal and looking to take game number 1 of this best of 3. Clash end up falling, and it's going to go to the next one to decide if we're going to see Queso go up against Calamity Reborn tomorrow, or the day after, sorry, to get into the VG8. Team Queso come out the gate on fire.
The Challenger team taking the first game versus the VG8 team. I talked about it yesterday. Vision Gaming managed to take down Gangstar, so it's definitely possible. You can definitely beat these VG8 teams, and Team Queso are showing it up here for the European side. That team fight was really well played because, like you mentioned, it was a corridor. The Mat Mojos were landing on everyone. The Fearsome Shades were landing on everyone, and despite the fact that they were focusing the tankiest member on the side of Clash, which was the Alpha, they still ended up winning the team fight. And what a performance from Team Queso. Really waited out until they hit their power spikes later on in the game, and once they did that, they just continued on playing aggressive, understanding how they need to team fight. It was just very impressive overall.
Very impressive stuff coming out of Team Queso, I have to admit. Despite the perhaps strange build coming out of Mr. Keiko, the Poison Shiv added to the Serpent's Mask for the mortal wounds alone, they managed to make it work. And, you know, Lyra's healing has been such a nuisance for many people on 2.10, so I totally understand why they would want to have the Poison Ship added to the build at that point. I know Best Chuck and A would have some sour words to say about it. He definitely doesn't believe Poison Shiv and Black Feather is a necessity or even good. But Mr. Keiko made it work. And Jules, you said it's the team Mr. Keiko. It certainly always looks like it. But always in the back line is Dark Ghost, the unsung hero of Team Queso. Time and time again, picking up plays, just doing his work from the back line. You know, at the Unified Live Championships, when we had the Challenger Cup between North America and EU, Team Queso versus Echo Fox, it was totally Dark Ghost who got so much done for the team, but so little praise. And so I just wanted to highlight his fantastic performance in that game, because he is such a stone for Team Queso, and always impressive to see him perform well on that Batiste there. I think it was a 609 scoreline in the end, so very impressive stuff for him.
Yeah, not a single death.
All right, not a single death is it's always impressive. just trying to avoid certain black screens here. It seems like we may have successfully done so. And hopefully we can get into this second game very soon as well. But very impressive stuff coming out of Team Queso as always. And I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what happens in this next series, as we'll be jumping into the draft very shortly. Do you think that the drafting from Clash was of issue here, or was it just a lack of execution, Araki?
I mean, I feel like it's a lack of execution because they had a lot of tools to play with throughout the early game and even mid game before Blackflare hit his power spikes, and so did Batiste. But they did not play very aggressive. It was a very passive early game. The other thing that was very interesting in draft is that we did not see Lorelei anywhere. She was not banned, and neither one of these two teams picked her up. So it could be an issue with the draft at the same time, as in they could have been stronger things that they could have went for, but they went back for their most comfortable picks with the Vox and the Alpha and the Lyra. Understandable when you're in a situation like this where there is so much on the line, but at the same time, if your comfort picks are not the best, perhaps you need to shake up your hero pools a little bit, even if you're not as practiced on those heroes that are stronger.
No, I think I agree with that. You know, the Lorelei is definitely a strong hero, but it's a hero that we just haven't seen competitively yet. So picking up the Lorelei in such an important series, perhaps just not something that teams are ready to do. I know that Queso fairly comfortable playing against the Lorelei, and so that's something that, you know, perhaps gets picked up in the draft. They definitely feel like CP Gwen pretty good into Lorelei, whether she's captain or jungle. It makes a lot of sense because of CP Gwen's strengths into ranged heroes, and Lorelei being a ranged hero, kind of a backline support / jungler. There's going to be this Arden locked in immediately for PRZ off the Lyra ban coming from Clash. We'll have to see if Clash want to secure themselves a captain here, or if they prefer getting themselves one of these top laners / junglers, which seem to be kind of prioritized in 2.10's drafting.
I would definitely go for Blackflare. These teams are not prioritizing it high enough. It's still really, really strong here at 2.10. Yes, it got a lot of nerfs, but it was so strong that it's still strong with all of these nerfs. But the Arden pickup does make a lot of sense in that after the Lyra is banned, you definitely want to secure the next best thing, and especially with Chunwalker being taken off the table as well, Arden makes a lot of sense. But Clash are going to go for the Catherine. She got a slight buff, if I remember correctly, with her energy usage on her A ability. So besides that, she's still fairly similar throughout the game, similar to 2.9. So not a lot of differences in how you play her.
Blackfeather will be banned away here for Clash. We'll have to see what Team Queso want to remove here, whether they remove themselves a captain as well. Vox could be targeted, but instead they go for the Batiste, which makes a lot of sense. Always easy to forget about the Batiste-Catherine combination, usually because it is always banned, so you just have to keep that in mind whenever the Catherine's locked in, that a team may go for that, and Batiste very strong on this update. I would love to see Clash pick up their jungler now, and take away a strong jungler like Alpha, considering the Batiste has been banned. Kind of removes one of the main counters to Alpha, who really can shut down the Alpha with the Ordains, with the Fearsome Shades. Of course, Agony plays a good Alpha as well, and also leave their carry open for counterpick if they need to.
Right, they do go for the Vox again though, and they're going to secure from Marcellus, which again is just one of his strongest picks, one of his most comfortable picks. So they're trying to stick to what they know works for them. The Catherine pick could have been could have played a little bit different if they went for the Batiste there. I don't think Catherine would have been banned away from them, because not a lot of people think about Catherine or regard her highly anymore. So had they went for the Batiste first and picked Catherine second, they might have been able to get that composition for them if they wanted to go for it. The other really interesting thing that's going on here, Dowsy, is we're not seeing Lorelei at all once again. And I feel like that's a mistake, to be honest. She's really, really strong.
Well, maybe we see it come through for Queso. There's the opportunity to pick it up. Of course, the jungler is open as well for the Clash team, with the Rona locked in here and that Alpha. It's no Lorelei for Queso. We could see a Lorelei come through for Clash, but I'm not sure it would work too well into the composition that Queso have drafted.
No, not really, not at all. I mean, they're so durable and so tanky at this point. They're going for a triple melee brawling composition with the Brona and the Alpha. And again, this is a composition that is so tanky, so durable, but also does so much damage. And despite Vox being one of the traditional counter picks into triple melee compositions and can kite out really well, it honestly does not work very well against Rona just because of his short range. Every time he wants to get up to attack, he's within her initiation range with either her foe splitter or her into the fray. She can easily get on top of him.
Ooh.
They're going to go for the cruel though.
That's really interesting. So I was going to ask the question, do you go CP Vox here, or do you pick up a Rhyme into this composition? With the crew lock-in, it could be either Weapon Power or CP Vox. What do you feel of CP Vox against this composition? Because I know that your first target's going to obviously take less damage, but the crew can apply weakness stacks to them and kind of neglect some of the damage they're outputting whilst you take out the rest of the team.
Honestly, with Cruel, it could work because, okay, the weakness about CP Vox and the reason why you don't see him that much is his counterplay is really easy. You just send in one person and that one person deals with him easily. Like Rona, for example, if she gets in there while her team are supporting her in a sense, but not right on top of her, you can beat the Vox as a CP really easily. But since you have a Cruel, if it's only one person going in, if Cruel also sticks around the Vox and helps peel for him, then that one person going in trying to duel the Vox is not going to be very effective because they have the weakness stacks being stacked on them. So they can definitely go for the CP Vox. It's just something that we haven't seen work reliably in competitive.
That's true. It is very easy to play around. Well, I say it's very easy. There are ways to play around the CP Vox, and so it's why we don't often see CP Vox get prioritized in competitive play, is because teams are capable of avoiding the win conditions of a CP Vox, which is people clumping up together and playing very grouped, allowing those resonance to really stick. Also, of course, CP Vox requires really good understanding of getting the most out of your resonance bounces. Be very interesting to see. I don't think we'll get it, but just thought I'd throw it on the table. It's game 2 of this series. Team Queso trying to take the victory over Clash.
And if they do win this game, Dowsy, they will be in with a shot of facing off against Calamity for a VG8 spot in VG8. In VG8, that makes sense, Araki. We know it does. Team Queso now over on the blue side, Clash are over on the red. And this time around, we're seeing Dark Ghost with the Alpha, Mr. K Cool with that Rona, which is something that you were kind of talking about in game number 1. PRZ is now on this Arden that was banned. It's looking a very scary dive composition coming out from Queso, playing Clash really at their own game.
Yeah, no, it really is very, very scary. And with one game up, they're only one game away from closing out the series and moving on to the next winners bracket matchup where they could go to the VG8 and they will be bringing down a VG8 team. That's definitely like something to be proud of. Right now they're playing aggressive with this Alpha and with Arden right behind him. They can easily do it.
That was a big prime directive. Disowned is going extremely low, only level 1 into the fray used by Mr. Keiko to get over the wall. Agony going extremely low, who's actually forced to back underneath his own turret. And that's going to be the entirety of their jungle now cleared out by Dark Ghost and PRZ.
Cleared out, but at the same time, Vox was pushing in the lane this entire time. Now he's going to try to rotate to the back. Rona looks like she's going to want to follow him. Nope, she can't because the wave is crashing under that turret, and had she done that, she would have lost so many minions. So Vox is going to get back the jungles or the jungle away from Alpha so that he can even it out a little bit for his team. And at the same time,
Agony is chasing Dark Ghost. Yeah, this is a problem actually. A stun does land coming through from from the Catherine. Dark Ghost uses that core charge to actually get on top of the Elder Treant. Agony chasing him. He's riding the waves, but Massilis is going to be there as well. Goes into that infinite reboot. All they need to do is out damage it, and they're going to be able to secure first blood. Team Clash once again, and Massilis specifically securing it first.
Wow, that turned out so much better for Team Clash than you would think. I mean, first Alpha was able to invade and push away the Cruel, but the Vox rotation into the backs was a very, very smart one. Marcellus definitely helping his team come back in that regard, and then managing to flag the Rona at the end there, securing the kill for the Cruel, or for himself at that point, but Cruel got an assist. It's something that definitely helped them out. Now they're a little bit ahead in gold, actually.
Yeah, Mr. Keiko did something pretty cheeky there as well. He did actually rotate to the backs of Clash and was able to secure them as Dassault was only level 2, has made it back towards the lane as well. So he's actually almost evened up here in terms of CS against Mercedes once he's cleared out these next couple of minions. Did a really good job of knowing Mercedes was going to be in the lane, and obviously Dassault was trying to disrupt him, but Agony was just nowhere to be found. So Mr. Keiko took that under his belt and said, fine, I'm just going to take your backs once again. Leaves Agony a little bit high and dry.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, both of these laners are doing a great job rotating down to help their own junglers catch up and not fall too far behind by getting themselves the jungle camps and taking them away from their opponents. So good on them, and that will should keep their junglers a little bit even. You can see Cruel both levels 8 and almost the exact same CS. So even game so far, despite a lot of action and despite a lot of back and forth. And that doesn't really favor anyone. Both Vox and Cruel will want to wait for the early game, and Alpha and Rona as well, with the Aftershock with the Serpent's Mask. Serpent's Mask just picked up on Mr. Keiko, so now he's a lot stronger in that lane position as well.
Intelligent itemization choice from Mercedes, though, has gone that Poison Shiv, knowing there's going to be a lot of healing coming out from Mr. Keiko later on in the game, so going to disrupt that fairly well, as long as he can get the basic attacks down, that is. And the jungle shop has spawned as well at the 4-minute mark. So that's PRZ picking up his fountain, with only Disown being a little bit behind. In fact, quite a bit behind, I'm realizing now as I look at the actual gold on him, and he's actually not got even this single life spring in his inventory. So Disowned not so healthy when it comes to the money front, but I'm sure I'll get that in the next few minutes.
No, that's actually, he's pretty far behind. The funny thing is that he's ahead in experience, so he's gonna hit his level 6 earlier. So what Clash need to do at this point is just wait out, make sure they allow Disown to catch up in gold, get his own fountain, and then perhaps get to level 6, and he's gonna get slightly stronger than Arden for a very small period of time. So they could try to do that. They shouldn't go for a team fight, not without a fountain.
No, they should not. And actually, Agony taken extremely low. Those mortal wounds really ripping him up, and so is that massive red mist. Mercedes now in trouble and into the fray. Use those boosts to get away. Does sidestep the Prime Directive as well, so he is going to live to tell the tale. However, nice stun actually onto Dark Ghost as he does leap underneath the turret with that core charge, but it does manage to get away as well. Didn't even need to use the boost.
Yeah.
Aftershock power spike, pretty big for Dark Ghost, and they secure themselves a kill.
They didn't even need to use the fountain, and that was actually a 2v3. Rona and Arden were alone in that fight against the Cruel, the Catherine, and the Vox. And I gotta wonder if Clash did not notice that Arden or PRC had already completed his fountain. I feel like had they known that, they wouldn't have went for that aggressive play, despite the fact that he didn't even need to use it, like I mentioned. But that's the strength of the Rona. We talking a little bit about the comps. This Rona with the Alpha is going to be so hard to deal with comes mid-game, and as she continues on scaling even into the late game. She goes a 3 offensive item build with the Serpent's Mask, Breaking Point, Solar Blade, if that's the path she chooses to go for, and then you get a metal jacket and an Aegis. In this scenario, you don't even need the Aegis, really, not really, because you're going up against double weapon power, so the metal jacket is a lot more than enough for defense. So he could pick up a Crucible if he wanted to instead of the Aegis for reflex blocking. But the composition is going to be so hard to deal with because they're so effective at diving, and against a very low range composition with the Vox and the Cruel, that could be devastating.
Oh, hang on a second. PRZ is getting jumped on. Mr. Keiko was just hiding in the bush. He's just chilling. He was waiting for something to happen. PRZ very, very close to that level 6 mark. Or, sorry, in fact, he's only just ding level 5. So I take that statement completely back. Agony is looking at maybe for an engagement here, but the chunking out from Mr. Keiko a little bit too much. In fact, the red mist is going to take half his health bar away while he doesn't actually sustain any damage as he just heals it up by the Serpent's Mask. So nice little bit of trading there. Something that Agony hasn't done either, and something we expect from Cruel players fairly early on. You just camp in that lane. As soon as you hit level 6, you can throw out the surfboard, you hit PRZ, you hit Mr. Keiko, and then jump on them. But with the ability to disengage from Mr. Keiko and PRZ being fairly tanky on the Arden early game, he hasn't got those opportunities to.
Yeah, also with how durable they are, I mean, he could see that. And honestly, talking about why strong Alpha, or why is Rona so strong, there isn't much analytical wisdom or analysis that I could throw out. It's just she's really durable and she does a lot of damage. Her durability comes from the fortified health her red mist provides, and so the damage comes from the same point, but also her foe splitter with her auto attacks do so much. So it's just straight out very simple. She's very durable and she does a lot of damage, a lot stronger than most heroes right now the most other heroes right now in 2.10, and that's why you see her being picked up here, and you see her being picked up a lot more over in regions such as EA and North America.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like seeing it because it's just fun watching the Red Mist just tear through people and breaking points stack up like like slot machines and all those like ding 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 ding. It looks absolutely hilarious. And Mr. Keiko, when he does reach that stage of the game, there's gonna be quite a few issues for Mr. Masilis to actually deal with. He's going to have to be able to kite back from Alpha. Mr. Keiko, if he gets trapped in by PRZ, hang on a second, because that's just happened. It's nice stun onto Masilis, actually. Prime Directive does hit too, and there's the Red Myth. Is going to go off, chasing Agony at this point. Meanwhile, Dark Ghost is just chasing Masilis with PRZ, but he's kiting around. A Prime Directive does land on him, but Agony is just taking a whole load of damage from Mr. Keiko, but those smite stacks, those weakness stacks even are stacking up. Should be a kill for Mr. Keiko, it is, and they're going to be able to take out Masilis as well, leaving Desode just to defend for himself. Traded kill onto PRZ, however, but the 2-for-1 and the Crystal Sentry here will net Queso a massive advantage. Gold Miner is also available to them. We'll see if they actually want to take it.
They're probably not going to go for it just because they're low and they only have the 2 members left alone. Catherine's tough, the recall of Alpha, but that should be about it. I've almost never seen any hero 1v1 out-dueling a Cruel 1v1 after he's fully stacked on top of her. He had full stacks, full weakness stacks on top of the Rona, and she still managed to win the 1v1. That's how strong she is, guys. But talking at the same time about Clash's composition, they do have tools to deal with it. If they manage to stick together, play around the Vox, especially with Cruel going for Bonesaw first, they have a lot of armor shredding. So they can just focus the same target and kite it out together. And with all the CC that they have, with the Merciless Pursuits coming out from Catherine and the ultimates from Cruel, they could lock down the Rona every time she uses her Red Mist so that they could reduce her effectiveness by quite a bit. So Clash do have the tools, they just have to execute really well, and their win condition is a lot harder to execute, and that's when you usually call your draft a weaker one. It's all about whose win condition is easier to execute, and right now that's Team Queso.
Prime Directive onto 2. Masilis kiting back, but the target is going to be disowned. Wait for it, it's going to strike 3 people, but they turn instantly back to Masilis and into the fray. Will land actually Dark Ghost on the floor. It seems like he killed his own teammate there, but it was actually Masilis that got the kill, or took him down in fact. So no termination protocol could be the go time here for Clash, but they are very, very low, with Mr. Keiko sustaining up. Agony not able to sustain, however the Phantom will keep him alive for the time of being. Another Prime Directive onto 2, and Agony trying to get out of the fight. He can't quite make it, and Mr. Keiko finishes him off with the Red Mist, and now it's Masilis on the chopping block, and that'll be Mr. Team Keiko. It is Team Keiko now. Team Queso picking up 2 kills, and they're going to be able to secure the turret as well.
And this time around, they should be able to get quite a bit from that ace, or that double kill. They didn't go for the backs. They could have easily taken the backs as well as the turret if they split their resources and the members. But regardless, they're going to go for the turret. That was a great team fight. I mean, they just went all in on the targets and they focused them down. And despite fighting under the Crystal Sentry, it really did not matter much. Now with the turret taken as well, that's almost a 3k gold lead that Team Queso just gained. And they do have the gold miner. So after they reset shop and then come back, they could take that gold miner very easily. Interesting to see Mr. Keiko go for an Aegis. I do think that's a mistake going up against double weapon power. Yes, the defensive stats do give you a lot, but a Crucible versus the silences, the Echo Silence, it could have been a lot better, since now you can block one with Arden's Crucible and another with Rona's Crucible, and you can cover all areas. But regardless, it does go for an Aegis. Now they're back on the map. It looks like Team Clash actually looking to play a little bit aggressive.
Well, they're going to have to do something. Right now, it's Queso that are just taking these fights to them, knowing that their win condition is killing Masilis. They're easily handling it. And Agony is just a non-factor in these fights. He's looking at 2 defensive items right now. He's got Bonesaw, no real sustain on him. Team Queso, with that turret take also, is going to be able to open up the map. And they've already managed to take 1 Crystal Sentry Araki, so there's only 2 more lives left on it.
And here comes the 3rd Atlas. Arden should be able to pick it up right there. And now they have 3 Atlases going up against the Cruel and a Vox. That's so devastating, because at least 1 or 2 should be landing in those team fights. They only have the reflex blocks there as in the Crucible. So at least 2, if they're used correctly, should land. That means that Team Clash, at this point, their win conditions are almost right out of the window, unless they play like gods, to be honest. But the initiation comes through.
Oh, that Prime Directive was beautiful. The Gauntlet is going to come down. Masilis already out of the fight. In fact, as a stun onto Mr. Keiko, another Prime Directive. Only his to zone this time. Agony now batting away Queso. K-Cool is going fairly low. Blast Tremor comes out. Silences 3 members. That's going to be a good stun onto Dark Ghost. Mini can't do much, but a Prime Directive, as soon as it wears off, does manage to net them a kill. Agony is going to fall, and that'll be another one on the board for Queso.
Another one on the board, and this time they can turn right back around and go for the gold miner. We talked about the triple atlases. They're just for Vox and Cruel to be effective at this point, they're gonna have to play it so perfectly, those team fights. And besides that, they still have to deal with the durability of Rona and Alpha and the damage coming out from them. Team Clash are not looking great right now. Vox though, oof, he does take down the turret.
He does manage to do it, so at least that's a bit of extra gold. But speaking of extra gold, gold miner taken by Team Queso. Just so that's not where you want to be, buddy, especially with Dark Ghost sitting on a 2 and a 1.5 items. Another Prime Directive should finish him off with an extra core charge. Yes, it does. Agony's there as well, but his attack speed all the slowed. Like we mentioned, the massive attack speed slows coming out from the side of Team Queso. They do manage to pick up PRZ in the meantime, however, but at least stacking up the damage onto Dark Ghost. But activates the boost, and the core charge will get him out. And in fact, maybe looking for a bait here, because Keiko is ended the fight straight onto Mercedes. A Prime Directive executes him where he stands. I didn't even see what happened to his health bar there, Araki. He just disappeared. And Agony is going to go down as well if he's not careful. Mr. Keiko and Dark Ghost should make mean work of him. Straight to the butchers goes Agony, and that's another kill on the board for Dark Ghost.
Another kill, and they're going to go for a Crystal Sentry at this point. I mean, that was a chase that started well for Team Clash. They got the kill on Arden, but then they overextended and they forgot about Rona coming back and forgot about how strong she was. The damage coming out from Alpha is so ridiculous as well. Those Prime Directives are dealing so much. He secures the region with it once again. And it's all because of the Dragon's Eye that he has and the Aftershock. The longer the team fight goes on, the more damage he deals. And those team fights will be lasting for a very long time because of how durable their team composition is. So Alpha, with how low her cooldowns are as well on the abilities, she's just dishing out so much damage. At this point, another team fight is right away.
These team fights are coming way too quickly, and it's too quickly for Clash to actually do anything as well. Mercedes gets jumped on with the Prime Directive, goes extremely low. Fountain to heal him up, still cutting back. Wait for it's going to come through as well. Big Termination Protocol only hits the turret actually, and Agony is going to be able to deal with him. Mercedes now cutting back. If he stays alive in this fight, this could be a win here for Clash. K-Cool and PRZ now backing off. The red mist keeps him alive, but Agony just determined to kill him. At least get another one on the board. PRZ keeping him alive. Atlas Pauldron's pop, cutting his damage in half, and now Mercedes has returned to the fight. Full health from going back to base. Agony going extremely low. PRZ with the mortal wounds isn't going to be able to heal up, and Mr. Keiko sacrifices himself to the gods. Can't quite survive through all those mortal wounds, and that'll be a PRZ going down as well if he's not careful. A Sonic Zoom and a couple of basic attacks will net Clash a ace, and they're going to go for the Kraken as well.
Okay, the throws. Mr. Keiko and Mr. Dark Ghost, I mean, they went for 2 different targets under those turrets. And while Mr. Keiko went for a Vox with the Merciless as Rona, he was not able to finish the kill. And then at that point, Alpha was trying to 1v1 Cruel. That's going to be a hard task doing it, especially underneath the turret. Now, an ace picked up for Team Clash, and another Kraken. All of a sudden, they're actually not very far behind in gold at all. After they get this turret, they should be almost even. And now it's late game. They have so many tools to actually deal with this Rona and Alpha. They have all the silences. They have the no-wave gauntlets on Catherine, the stuns to lock down the Rona. And with only 3 turrets, with a Kraken pushing in, they could actually turn this game around.
How have they come back in this game? A bit of an overextension from Queso, it seems. They need to be able to fight this, though, but that Kraken is just knocking on their base doors. They need to deal with it. What do? Do they go for an engage? That's exactly what they want to go for. Keiko jumps on the back line. Another Atlas Pauldrons will cut their attack speed. Gauntlet comes out. A nice stun onto Mercedes, but a Blast Tremor stops them from using any abilities. Prime Directive over the wall does miss from Dark Ghost, but they still need to deal with that Kraken. Agony has actually just focused that turret as well and focuses his wrath towards it. Kraken about half HP. They're going to be able to kill it for the moment here, Araki, but they still lose one of their base turrets.
Yeah, they had to lose 1 turret for that. I mean, it was the right call to go for an engagement right there to try and fight Flash off the push, and they managed to do it. Really nice jump from Vox over the wall, saving his life. Had he failed that, he would have died for sure, but at this point, Queso lost only 1 turret. Clash gained only 1 turret from that Kraken push. So the net gold gained is actually in the favor of Team Queso. And now with an infusion picked up on Rona and her Sorrow Blade, her damage has just increased a ton. And now they can go for another team fight as well. So it's a matter of can Clash lock down the Rona effectively with their abilities, or will she wreck them in those team fights if she's able to use her red mist really well?
They do 2 turrets off the back of that one. That is absolutely insane comeback. 2,000 gold separates the team now. Infusions across the board for both sides. Disowned, by the way, is up to 50 stacks. That's pretty impressive 17 minutes into the game. I'm not going to lie to you, Araki. That's quite an impressive feat. And with that, that's a lot of free stats to him as well, just enabling him to pick up some more items like this Echo. Disowned is going to be able to find a stun. That's another stat added to the board, and only Dark Ghost just waddles away from it. Kraken will be on the fold in a moment, about 2 minutes or so, Araki. So it does look like Queso right now, we're just looking to wait for that, or just maybe catch Masilis off guard as he tries to that wave.
Indeed, and it looks like Bonesaw was also picked up on Vox, so they have 2 Bonesaws now on the side of Team Clash to shred through all the armor stacked on the Alpha, on the Arona, and even the Arden. And now with the breaking point as well, the longer the team fights go on, they have a little bit of stacking going on for themselves as well. It's not only the Rona and the Alpha stacking, so Clash are definitely looking a lot better than they did just 2 minutes ago off of a throw coming out from Team Queso going a little too aggressive. Team fight does look like about to break up, but I don't think they want to fight without an infusion on Vox, so he's going to recall and pick that up and come right back in.
Look how fast Mr. Keiko has taken this Kraken alone. That Red Mist is destroying it. Already about half capture status as well. Dark Ghost and PRZ are spotted out by that flare. And I've got a feeling they're just baiting this in. They know Keiko can do this because of the sustain. Now PRZ is going to move. Now they're going to flare it out. Will that be a steal? No, it will not. Disown popping the War Treads, even popped a Blast Tremor. Echo not been used on that Blast Tremor either, so he's going to have double stun available. But they're already on the back onto Masilis. A Gauntlet traps him in place. Another one's going to come down as well. Keiko has to deal with agony though. He's chewing up in the backline. Red Mist onto 3 people. This is what they wanted. Masilis with a nice dodge around from that Prime Directive, but he's still alive. Ends up falling down. I spoke a little bit too soon. Dark Ghost pops that Termination Protocol. Finds agony as well. Mr. Keiko is going to be able to take him out, and this could very well be Queso winning this 2-0.
It very well could be a great team fight as well. The Catherine did echo her stun and not her ultimate. That could have been the reason why they lost. The stun also, the second one landed only on Arden, so it didn't do much and didn't even cancel a gauntlet. So it didn't really help Vox cut away. Team Queso are trying to take this region and then come back to push in with this Kraken with 15 seconds on the clock for Cool as well. They're on the 3rd turret. They could finish right here.
The base has been cracked. Team Queso have got their sights set on the VG8s, or at least the next best of 5 that's going to come up against them, which will be Calamity in a couple of days' time if they do take this game. However, they decide to back off for the time being. They're happy to just open the base here, Iraqi. They know they can win these fights if they play them like they've been playing them recently. There's just nothing it seems Masilis can do. He's only got so many uses of boots and sonic zooms.
Right. I mean, I feel like they could have taken the turret, but they after the mistake they did early on the 3rd turret, they didn't want to replicate it. They didn't want to do the same thing. Instead, playing it a little bit safer, they're going to go back, get the metal jacket onto the Alpha, get another infusion for everyone. So now they're ready to team fight. Even if they catch Catherine out of position, they could easily engage. With the Alpha having so many tools to gap close onto the Vox, with the Rona having the same thing, and the double gauntlets coming out from the Echo, they're having a lot easier of a time to stick to that Vox, but that's only because Alpha's Catherine is not helping very well. But they're going right here.
They're going to go here once again. Dark Ghost falling extremely low. That's a big blast. Tremor. Gauntlet came out as well. Mr. Lee's popping those War Trays, trying to kill PRZ. He does manage to do it. Now Mr. Keiko has to be able to survive because Dark Ghost was in the passive, already falling down. Now it is Clash's turn to apparently turn this game around. So back and forth later on. Dark Ghost, the only survivor.
Yes, I mean, that's the Catherine Silence coming out. Landed on all members of Team Queso, and at that point, the Fountain could not be popped, the Crucible could not be popped, the Echo, the Atlas, Arden went down without using all of these items, which meant that they could not win the team fight. I talked about it just before the team fight. It's all about how he's going to be playing those team fights with Cruel. How well are they going to peel for the Vox? How well are they going to lock down their opponents? It could very easily be their game if they play it well enough, but it's not easy. So far, they've executed. They want a team fight. They could go for the Crystal Sentry even if they want to. That's really the only objective available for them on the map. They just got to wait until the Kraken comes up. As I speak, it just did. But at this point, Team Queso are back as well. So they have to win another team fight if they want to secure their objective and push into end the game. One team fight is the difference between both of these teams winning the game right here.
What's insane is the fact that that was possibly the worst timing team fight for Clash to actually win, but they did manage to do it. Because like you said, the only thing for them to take was that Crystal Sentry. Another fight on the horizon, though, as PRZ looks to go in. Gauntlet only up for another couple of seconds, mind you, so he's going to have to wait for that. Disown finds the stun, the mortal wounds on him as well. The Gauntlet is off cooldown, does get used. Mercedes attack speed slow in the back line, does Sonic Zoom away. War Treads is going to get popped as well. They're trying to find that kill. Big War Treads as well on PRZ to actually close the distance. Now it's a red miss onto Agony. He's in the front line. Massilius completely out, looking for the back, but Dark Ghost refusing to let him go, chasing him out of this fight, and that will lead Agony to go down to PRZ and Mr. Kekel. They're going to turn their sights onto Disowned as well. Mr. Kekel is going to be able to chase him up. He's got too much mobility for Disowned to actually deal with another into the fray should seal the deal, and PRZ is going to chase Massilius also.
This should be the game, honestly, after this crack, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go back and secure it. It's not gonna be guaranteed, but they definitely have the tools to end. And this time around, the Arden used his activables a lot better versus the Catan, using the reflex block to block the gauntlet no wave coming out at the beginning, and then using the Crucible to block the second silence. The Echo silence meant that Rona and Alpha could continue on using their abilities to stick to the box, stick to the Cruel, and finish them off. Great team fight coming out from Team Queso, and now they have yet another Kraken pushing into the base. They're going to be able to close it out right here. One game away from beating a VGA team and making it so much further into the winner's bracket. Queso have so much pressure right now on them.
Queso have consistently been #1 and #2 seed in the VGL for as long as I can remember. They are now looking to end the game against Clash and knock them down to the loser's bracket. This situation right now, I don't think crossed any of our minds. We thought it would be much closer, but Queso are showing to us why they are a team to not be messed with. Nice block using that Crucible on that Blast Tremor. First turret falls. The Gauntlet gets dropped down. Another one as well to separate Mercedes, and Mr. Kekel focuses on that turret, cracking about half HP as well. Atlas Pauldrons are awry, and that'll be Queso taking the Vein Crystal and taking 2-0 to Clash. They're going to knock them out, and we'll see them in the next couple of days facing Calamity Reborn for a spot in the VG8.
Wow, I mean, they definitely fought back a lot harder this time around. This game Clash, but it wasn't not enough to take down Team Queso. They focused the objectives, they ignored the team fight, pushing in with that crack and focus on the turrets, got them down, then focus on the Vein Crystal and made sure that they can shatter it. Beautiful plays coming out from Team Queso, and honestly, an incredible performance off of a very decisive draft that got them leads both in the first game and in the second game. So a team that obviously understands how to draft, how to strategize, and how to execute, and that's the type of caliber you need to be, or you need to be in to be able to get into the VG8 and take down these VG8 Team Queso. Great job on them, and congratulations to them.
Congratulations to Team Queso taking down Clash in a 2-0 epic brawl. And that game looked so close, gentlemen. It looked like Clash were going to be biting back into it. Some fantastic plays coming out of the likes of Disowned. Halfway through the game, it was the throw that allowed for Clash to get back into it, and it was all on Disowned, stunning up the Arden, cancelling him out of the gauntlet, which meant that Team Queso's chase onto Clash was a fool's errand, an errand that Clash were able to turn around and then turn the game back towards their favor. Very strong composition coming out of Queso this Rona. You mentioned it earlier, Rakizora, that you thought this would become a meta must-pick laner for 2.10. I can totally see where you're coming from, but it did look like with the Cruel, with the Vox, it struggled just a little bit to get all of the damage it needed, especially with the double silences coming through. And like you mentioned, the Crucible not coming out for Mr. Kekel. Some questionable item builds for Mr. Kekel today, but when a win's a win, I think you can excuse him just a little bit for it today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end there, when they pushed him with the Kraken, the second silence actually missed everyone. The first one was blocked by the Arden Crucible, and the second one completely missed, so they didn't really even need the second Crucible. But I think had they went for the Crucible on Mr. Kekel, some of those team fights that they lost because the silence landed could have definitely went a different way. But like you said, they won the game here. They moving on. They technically beat the best seed team coming out of the VG8. I mean, Calamity Reborn won yesterday, but they were the last seed drop into the challenge battles. Clash were the 7th, not the 8th. So Team Queso technically beating the best team here in the challenge battles must be feeling really good.
No, I think they will be, Araki Zoro. And, you know, that brings us to tomorrow's games. Let's have a quick look at what the challenge battles bracket is looking at like, so you guys can get an idea of what's going on. Tomorrow, Clash will go up against Raging Donuts in the elimination round, a best of 5 extravaganza. The winner of that going to play against Norm Pisani straight afterwards over on the main channel, twitch.tv/Vainglory, the same channel that we do Vainglory8 on. And then on Sunday, Calamity Reborn will play against Team Queso in a best of 5 series. For Team Queso, it could be promotion into the Vainglory 8. For Calamity Reborn, it's a secure of their spot. The loser of that series does get a second chance. They fall down into the second promotion matchup, where they'll play the winner of Norm Pisani versus whoever beats each other in the Clash Raging Donuts series. So we've got a double elimination bracket. We're going to best of 5s for tomorrow, Saturday, and for Sunday as well, the 18th and 19th. And I cannot wait to get those started. It's going to be a fantastic set of games. Best of 5s means that truly the person who deserves to win will win those series. And of course, with Clash going against Raging Donuts, we get to find out whether or not a second VGL team, Challenger team, might be able to make it into one of those promotion games. If Raging Donuts isn't able to beat Clash, well, then there's always Norm Pisani as well. Clash really have to run a gauntlet if they want to be getting in back into the Vainglory 8, and with a roster that has improved over time in the last recent weeks of the Vainglory 8, I'm sure the team will be fighting hard for one of those spots. That does it for today. It was only one series today. Tomorrow, 2 best of 5s. Sunday, 2 best of 5s. So make sure you join us at same time, 6 p.m. Central European Time, or 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time if you're from the States, for the continuation of the challenge battles over on the Vainglory 8 channel. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow where the challenge battles continue.